What's up, family? Welcome to the Reclamation. So today's episode is something that we've all seen and maybe even lived through ourselves. It's about people that wear masks, the ones who act like someone that they're not, including myself for years, decades. Maybe they post a perfect picture online, or they claim something they're not, or they take pictures meant to impress instead of express. And if you've ever been hurt, confused, or left wondering why are they doing this, then this episode's for you. Now, I'll say first and foremost, this is rooted in my life. Like as an alcoholic and a drug addict, I didn't want anyone to know how I lived. But when a person pretends to be someone they're not, it's usually not about pride. It's about pain of some sort. They build a version of themselves that feels safer than the truth. Psychologists call this false self, a shield that we build to hide insecurity or shame. Most of the time, this happens when someone grows up feeling like they aren't, or who they are isn't enough. Maybe they were ignored, rejected, or constantly compared to someone else, like a sibling, something like that. So as adults, they perform. They lie about their success. They take credit for things that aren't theirs. They block people who just can see right through it, because, that mask they have has become their protection, which is crazy. If you've ever been blocked all of a sudden on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat, and just a couple days earlier you were talking to the person, but maybe you said something and it was game over. So let me keep it simple. A false identity usually grows from four roots. The first root, low self-worth. They don't believe they're as lovable as they are. Number two, loneliness. Pretending, gives a temporary sense of belonging. Number three is control. If they can change the story, they feel less powerless. And number four is shame. They can't bear to face who they've become, so they become someone else. It's easier to play pretend, imaginary lifestyles than it is to just be yourself. It's not evil, it's survival. But the problem is when you live behind a mask, you never get to be truly loved. You only get loved for the lie, for what you're putting out, for the artificial stereotypes, beliefs, storylines that you're given. If you've ever been close to a family member, someone like this, you've seen the pattern. They get defensive, they block you, they ghost you, they twist stories to make themselves the victim on a regular basis. That's not strength, that's more fragility. Their sense of self is so fragile that any truth feels like an attack. Any boundary that is set up feels like betrayal. In psychology, this is called emotional avoidance. It's how people run from shame. But underneath that anger or denial, there's a scared person just trying not to collapse. And that's, I think, the hardest part to see when you're dealing with them. It's the worst when it's going down. But there are ways that you can help yourself and you can help them. You can't save someone who's still hiding. It's just not possible. But you can stay grounded in your own truth. As ridiculous as the stuff that they put out. You stay calm, don't argue about their lies, stick to facts, offer empathy, but don't enable them. You can care about without caring. Set boundaries. It's okay to say no to money, manipulation, to guilt trips. You can model truth, live transparency. Wearing the mask drains energy. Encourage therapy or accountability. Healing starts with them facing themselves and not running. And if you're the one wearing the mask, there's no shame in that either. It means you've been protecting yourself a long time. But eventually, protection becomes isolation. Taking off the mask isn't weakness, it's freedom. So, and let me just throw it out there. If you are, I love you. We love you. Everybody loves you. But you don't have to, carry this front and act like something that you're not. If this person's in your life and you can't avoid them, the one thing, just remember, you can love them without losing yourself, even if they drive you crazy. You can care without carrying them. You can have empathy without enabling the lies that are coming out. Your job isn't to fix them. It's to stay whole during that storm. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is just take a step back. Distance doesn't mean that you've given up. It means that you've decided to choose peace over the pain. And I had family that did that for me. I had friends that did that for me when they saw how I was acting and trying to build up my stories in life. They stepped away, and it was noticeable. So, every Reclamation Code episode comes back to this, just reclaiming the truth. That's what I'm getting back to here, because that's what healing really is, coming home to who you were before the world told you who you had to be to perform. So whether you've worn the mask or love someone who did, just remember this, that the moment you stop pretending, that's when you start living. The mask, may have protected you, but it can't give you the freedom that you're looking for. Freedom only comes when you whisper, to yourself, this is me, imperfect, real, enough, not from posting, memes on Instagram and TikTok, So that's the code for today. Loves the truth more than the illusion is what I'm feeling here. So because the truth is the only version of you that is worth fighting for. So just remember that. So love strong, embrace your gifts, do hard things. I love you guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a family member. I love the notes that are coming through. If something resonated, put it down in the comments. I respond to everything. But yeah, love you. Hope you have a great week. Hit me up if you need anything. Talk to you soon.